Over the years, I've amassed a collection of art that's okay. I mean, I like it, but it's not the kind that has popped, and after several years, it hasn't sold. So I'm going to play around a little. Now, I often add graphite when I need to give it a little bit more pop, a little bit more softness to it, like I did with the last commission with Wolfgang. So I'm going to go ahead and play around with this one and see where I can go. If you look here, it goes from 2H, goes all the way to 6B. The 2H is much harder and it's kind of shiny. And the higher number you go into the B, the softer it becomes and the darker it becomes. And so I'm going to be using a lot of these. I'm going to start with a 2B and then I'm going to work my way up into a 6B. I usually just start with 2B, the nice standard 2B that we all grew up with. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and put, I guess what you would almost call, if it was watercolor, you'd kind of call it a wash. So I'm just going to go through the whole thing and do just the whole layer of 2B across the entire piece. This is going to get rid of a lot of those highlights, but we're going to come back a little later with an eraser and we're going to bring all of this back. And I just make sure that I kind of get everything nice and even across the whole thing, often going in different directions. I'm not worried at all about losing my highlights because I'm going to come back. That's the joy of doing graphite, is you come back with an eraser and get rid of all of the pencil in that area and your highlights start to pop. In order to get that sort of smooth depth that we can see, you start to pick a point of light. The light is coming from this direction over here, and so you want the lights to hit this part of the face, and shadows are going to be over here. So as we build more shadow, all of this is going to start to fall into shadow, and we're going to keep working to bring the highlight all the way up here. The key to making it pop is to realize that every single section is a three-dimensional object. Light hits it from one direction, causing shadows on the other. And then also there's going to be some light that bounces off an object and will kind of lighten up, called reflective light over here. So right now I'm still using my 2B pencil and I'm just kind of mapping out those areas where the shadows would fall in a three-dimensional line. Okay, let's go ahead and pick up our 4B and just kind of start working in a little bit more shadows. Now keep in mind, lions have fur, and those are lines. So we want to get some of those strands in there while we're doing, because if you get too flat, it's not going to look like he has any fur at all. And I think 4B is a really good one to work for the basic portion of the hair, and then we'll use the 6B to really get in those shadows. See that? See how that's forming some hairs? And also right here you can see it's starting to form a layer, because hair falls on top of each other. Let the picture speak to you and let it form that area by itself. Let it do it naturally. The key is not always having all the details. In fact, when you start to lose details, you can help bring focus to the details that you want to show. So allow some of this to just kind of fall away and let a highlight start create over here. Start really darkening the shadows. Again, we can remove some of this in the highlighting phase. But you can also make it pop by allowing the shadow to fall right next to that highlight. Now all of a sudden, you get more definition in the highlight by creating all that wonderful shadow. It's 6B time. Get really into those shadows. Don't be afraid of bold, dark shadows. Don't be afraid if some of your details blend and disappear. See, by adding all that dark, the light over here starts to pop. Another thing about hair is it's typically darker at the roots. It's lighter, and we're going to come back in here and lighten this up a bit, because sun tends to lighten the hair. So at the roots where there's less sun, it's going to be a little darker. So if you come in here and make the roots darker and create more highlights as we go up here, you're going to create much more natural hair. Now comes one of my favorite parts, working with an eraser and getting rid of some of the darkness where the highlights should be. It also gives you a chance to clean up your paper. Should you get any kind of smudging going on, now's the time to kind of clean up all around there and just work on getting some highlights in there. We can come back for another layer of dark on top of this after we bring back some of the lights. But here would be a highlight. And you just start removing some of the gray that you put in. You kind of create that highlight. Just gently brush, be careful, because if you go too hard, you're going to actually smear, and you don't want to do that. If you have a brush, that's even better to kind of brush it off. It really is a give and take. You give it, you take some away. It's that fine balance between light and shadow. So just be bold, take your chances. Now back with the 2B, you give it back some of its texture that we may have lost. So if you go in here and you just start putting some hair in, go straight over there, you can start adding just a light bit, and that will tone down some of those highlights that you were putting in and give it a little bit more texture. Go ahead and get some of those individual hairs that we didn't create with the pen. We're going to add little wispy hairs with the pencil. And there you go, folks. So go ahead and get out your pencils and go forth boldly into the great unknown.